first episode of the series that I genuinely liked, and I was like, yes, yes, third
There's
time
hope.
really is the charm.
There's hope.
And
I did rewatch it, and I did enjoy it a lot more the second time. I think the first two episodes kind of soured my view a little bit, so it's a lot better.
I wonder, just the thing that I mentioned in my video, which is people have an expectation for what they want episodes of this show to be, and this is not it.
I don't know. It's different. And I actually kind of like that they actually went for this because it's more of a, like, I've heard older Doctor Who episodes, kind of educational one. I mean, I guess it's a callback to the classic kind of era a bit.
Yeah, the classic era, where the pure historical episodes that everyone really loves are all missing from the archives.
We've gotten most of the Kubla Khan one.
We're working on it. We'll find them all one day.
I sort of went on my whole spiel about this already, but because it's so weird, with no other episode of this show, I don't have the people who dislike it. I've seen largely dislike it for the same exact reasons, which are A, they don't think that it was like fun in the way that they're used to with this show. They wanted it to be more sci-fi, more of a compelling like plot kind of thing, or B, they just don't like the villain and that ruins it for them, or C, they don't like the song at the end.
That first one
of those three
that
reasons.
Just sounds like a group of fans that really annoys me, where they just only like a specific part of Doctor Who, and they just can't get their head wrapped around the fact this is supposed to be a show of a diverse range of what kind of stories it can tell.
I completely agree that that's annoying, but at the same time, I gotta think about it as like us going through this show from the beginning of the Russell era up to now. For the past 13 years, this show has been kind of, it is variety, which I appreciate, but there is that level of, there's never been an episode like this, I don't think, in the timeline of most people's fandoms who are watching it now. Like you said, most of the pure historicals are old enough to have been burned because the BBC mistook the term storage for burn the heck out of that. Like, a lot of people who have been with this show for a while are annoyingly for us, but understandably still used to it being largely a sci-fi adventure thing because that's what we've been doing for a long time.
Yeah, I think that was my mom's problem with it because she said it didn't really feel like Doctor Who.
That's said a couple times.
Okay, that phrase, it didn't feel like Doctor Who, just makes me want to.
Yeah. Doctor Who can be anything. That's why I always say it can be all kinds of different styles and things. Like, it might not be your version and stuff.
You do know the show practically reboots itself every time we get a new Doctor, right?
Pretty much, and you're either on board with the style or not. I also think one of the reasons why this may not click with me as much as I wanted it to click is because it's more grounded. And I figured out, like, I'm not a big, huge fan of, like, super grounded shows. I think that's why this one didn't, like, I like a little bit of quirk, a little bit of more fantasy, I guess.
Don't watch Game of Thrones then.
Yeah. Even though, like I said, this one was much more enjoyable on a second time around. Like, I can't really find anything that wrong with it. The writing's fine. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. So, yeah. I think people are having problems with it. It's just, like I said, they're either just not clicking with the style of Chibnall.
Plus, I think if we're gonna keep in the realm of that pattern that you mentioned earlier, like I said, tied with Fires of Pompeii, and outside of that, I think it outclasses like almost every other historical episode we've had. Like, it's this, Fires of Pompeii, and Vincent and the Doctor.
Nature and the Family of Blood are historical stories too.
Yeah, they all have their own distinct different styles. Like I said, like Russell is a bit more quirky, whatever. Moffin's middle, and Chibnall's more
Moffat is more timey-wimey.
Yes.
He didn't invent the phrase big ball of wibbly wobbly timey-wimey. Yeah.
So I think which one's best will really just consider what is your taste.
Like, it almost didn't occur to me to think of the Human Nature and the Family of Blood as a two-parter, just because my memory of that story is always so much of the character piece of it all. Period piece angle kind of falls to the wayside. We're close to talking about that episode in Series 3 anyway, so I'll save my comments on that one. But, like, you compare Rosa to The Unquiet Dead, the Shakespeare Code, which we've talked about recently.
Yeah.
I feel like it's unquestionably better than those two. I've seen one person genuinely complain that this episode, titled Rosa, was too focused on Rosa, which makes zero sense.
Moron alert. Moron alert.
Like, because that comes back to the complaint of, like, they found the villain interesting on the surface, but they didn't like how he was handled, so they were like, give him more time, explain why he's a racist. You do know that racists are usually just racist for no reason, right?
Like,
Most
you don't
real
even have to explain why he's racist. It's just you should have to put more effort into defining his character. Like, give him, like, a more memorable character trait. Like, have him chew gum when he gets angry or something. I don't care.
I guess we should talk about the villain. I mean, I think he was one of the weaker elements for me. I mean, we live in a world where racists are just racist, but he just seemed kind of bland, to be honest, to me. So I didn't have much feelings for him besides, oh, he's a piece of crap, and I want him to die.
Of the whole episode, he's the weakest part, which
Yeah.
is like,
We have to have something,
yeah.
so Rosa have something to do, you know, like if the doctor landed here and then met Rosa and then they had some tea and then left, that would be a very boring episode. So we had to have some kind of conflict.
Yeah, something needs to be like, why do we stay here? So he's a plot device to make that happen. And on some level, he is kind of conceptually scary in the sense that, like, even in the future, people like him will always be around. There's the implication that he killed a couple thousand people in a hate crime. Distinct, but in terms of his actual character, he's just, there's not really anything to him. Like, he's a sadist, he's a racist, and that's really all we know about him.
Also, do we buy that they let him go even with the chip or whatever thing in his head after he committed a terrorist act that killed 2,000 people?
I guess it doesn't account for stealing, since I'm pretty sure he stole the vortex manipulator.
They said that they let him go, though, because they put that chip in his head. I was like, okay, well, can we make the crime a little less extreme so I can buy it a bit more? Because I'm sorry, if somebody killed like 2,000 people, I'm pretty sure they would get the death penalty or be like life in prison forever.
Or even like death of personality, like on Babylon 5 or something.
Yeah.
To be fair, the only things that we have seen / know about this prison is that the one prisoner we knew about before now constantly escaped, so maybe they're just incompetent.
Maybe.
It's Arkham Base.
Pretty much.
Yep, that explains it. That explains everything.
It's him that I have an issue with, and outside of that, I love the rest of this episode. I like how we're slowly building Yaz's character into a bit more defined place. She, of the four of them, I feel like was kind of not the weak link, but like the least defined in the previous two episodes. And here, it's like when she has that conversation with Rosa, I like the way that she says, I'm a police officer, and Rosa's like, well, what do you want to do next? Well, I want to be in charge. Where it's like, we kind of joked a little bit in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, where it's like her motivation seemed kind of generic, where it's like the Disney princess thing, right? Of like, I want more. I want more than this provincial job. It's a bit more interesting to be like, no, she wants to be in charge. What she wants is to be the head honcho. She doesn't just nebulously want more.
The companions were better in this episode too. I noticed. Like, I still think they're missing, like I was saying, like charisma and stuff.
I can remember one of the companions' names now. That's something.
Yeah.
There you go. But the writing for them was much better. I think I remember two of their names now, Ryan and Yaz. And but yeah, they had some good moments and stuff. And I also like
I had this much trouble remembering Rose, Martha, or Donna, or
yeah, like I said, they're still missing some charisma. I think that's why they're not clicking with me. But the writing, like I said, because it was stronger this episode, actually has some moments to make it more memorable. I did like Ryan having like a fanboy moment. He's like, I'm with Rosa Parks. I'm with Martin Luther King in the same room. Oh my
He's
god.
like, 1 minute, Dr. King. Yes, Rosa Parks? Whoa.
And everyone else in the room is just like,
It's like, you gonna make the tea?
They're all like, is he gonna have a seizure or something? To be honest, I would probably have some like reaction. I'd be like,
well, I do have something to test whether or not he's having a seizure. Staple a piece of paper on the head. And I just referenced Get Smart.
I also like the little moment when he was like following her, and he's like, "You really think I'm a secret agent and I'm British?"
Did you guys have the thing that I had? Because I just want to gauge your reactions. Did you have the thing that I had where like the moments of racial tension were genuinely uncomfortable?
Yeah, they were. And I think that was supposed to be the point because racism is not a fun subject to talk about. I mean, especially since it's still unfortunately relevant today.
Yeah, I actually cringed when Ryan got slapped. I was really surprised they did that, and I was like, ew.
All of the guys that they got to play these racist jerks are like so good at playing racist jerks. When the guy mentions that Ryan's gonna get lynched, you almost feel like he's just gonna grab him and tie him up to a tree himself.
Yeah.
Maybe he just has a very good scary face.
They pick really good people to pick races. I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe they went to like a Trump supporter rally. And
well, those people get paid to act like that anyway.
Well, it's the UK, so they probably looked for people who voted for Brexit.
Yeah.
When the police officer is in and he's like, have you guys seen two mongrels? It's like, I cannot believe that line is in this show.
It is historically accurate, and if this is supposed to be one of the more here's an historical event historical Doctor Who episodes.
We never go that far with it. We usually give it like passing subtle reference, like again going back to Shakespeare Code.
Yeah.
Martha's getting carted off as a slave. Shakespeare calls her chocolate woman at one point, and that's about it.
Well, the thing is, that was still set in England. This episode is set in America, where racism was a lot worse.
Yeah.
That might be the case there. I mean, they dealt with racism, before on the show, but just in like, smaller doses. This one is just like, we're just going to show all of it, not sugarcoat it. It made me feel uncomfortable, but that's the point. It's supposed to show you how awful that time period is. And although I will say, did anybody else feel this way about the like restaurant scene when the doctor, like they kicked everybody out and then the doctor just passively leaves? Like, she doesn't really say anything. I know they're going for more grounded, but I was like, this is 12th Doctor. He would punch somebody in the face.
Yeah, well, it's just the thing is, they were already aware that someone was messing with time, so Doctor to be super delicate and not cause any collateral damage to the timeline.
When 12 decked that guy in the face, he was the only other person in the room.
It's like a crowd of people there, and they all just gave him the stare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at very least, I would like to see. Anyway, but that was just the thing for me. I just hope this is not like a new thing with the Doctor where she's just kind of passive.
Well, again, this is an issue that this show does not regularly handle, especially not with this kind of sort of intensity. This just isn't the Doctor's wheelhouse by most estimations, where it's like a bunch of aliens threatening her friends, people threatening to kill them. She can deal with that in a heartbeat. An entire bar full of just racist jerks. It's like, how do you handle that in like a couple of moments? Especially since she's got other things to worry about. There's a weird time travel energy all over the place.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like I said, I just wish it was just a bit more like, even when like Ryan got slapped, I was like, why isn't the Doctor like standing up for him? And she's like, we're out of town and stuff. I'm like, like I wish there was just a little bit more of aggressiveness from her.
Plus, you gotta wonder what, in the context of this episode, something like that would accomplish.
Absolutely nothing. Probably make their mission to protect the timeline even worse. We still have 7 episodes to go. By the way, when they knocked it down to 10, I was hoping that all of them were going to be 60 minutes, but now it's just giving each episode extra 5 minutes, which honestly doesn't do much. That just makes it the runtime of Torchwood's episodes for the first two series.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. This episode and The Woman Who Fell to Earth definitely feel more
Well, the one
deliberately
who fell to
paced.
Earth was 60 minutes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that episode and this one I feel like are more deliberately paced than we're used to with this show. Like I thought that this one was a 60-minute episode the first time I watched it just because the time that we do have was used so well. If the rest of the episodes feel like this as opposed to feeling like Ghost Monument in terms of the pacing for that one is kind of all over the place, I think I'll be good.
Hear me out. Maybe the writers finally wrapped around their head that they don't have the time of an average Doctor Who serial, and they have to write their episode in the runtime they have. They finally learned. It took so long.
It took 11 seasons for them to realize that we are writing stories for 45 to 50 minutes, not 2 hours. How about Rosa? I liked her. I liked the actress that played her. I thought she did a good job.
I don't know if the accent was historically accurate. I mean, it probably was, but I didn't check because I'm lazy. Yeah, and plus, when it came to like the big moment when she refused to give up her seat, it was properly handled. It felt triumphant.
We have to talk about the end scene with her, and this will usually make or break the song.
How'd you feel about the song?
I like it.
I didn't like it, but the second time around, I did turn the sound off, and I enjoyed the scene without it. So
I mean, it could have been more memorable with a different song, but the song that they had was fine. It didn't ruin anything for me, and it didn't enhance the scene either. I mean, it's not like the scene in Vincent and the Doctor when they took him to the future and they played the song Chances, which you can't really imagine that scene playing out without that song playing over it. But here it's just like, it's fine.
I understand why they picked that song. It's kind of like an unofficial anthem for the Black Lives Matter movement.
mm-hmm.
I just personally don't like it as a song all that much.
Yes.
And I feel like the way it comes in the middle of the scene is a little abrupt.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a testament to that scene by itself that it's so powerful that doesn't bother me. Like it bothers me a little, but it's not enough to kill the scene. Just it's so good. The act opposite of Ghost Monument. If that scene doesn't work for you, then I can see the rest of the episode kind of falling apart because it all is building to that moment of like, we gotta let this happen. Be part of it.
Unless you are one of those people that believe Doctor Who has fallen victim to the SJW agenda, in which case this episode was never going to please you to begin with.
Pretty much.
For even acknowledging those people.
Yes, those are not people. Those are idiots.
There's a reason I don't spend much time in some Doctor Who groups. In fact, I even left some because those people taken over.
I'm just going to say to everybody watching right now, Doctor Who's always been political. I don't know what show you've been watching.
Science fiction and art itself, by its very nature, is political. Even if you're trying to avoid a political message in your work, you're still being political.
Yeah.
And also, if you use the term SJW unironically, you're a big, dumb, poopy fart face.
There we go.
We never have to mention it again.
There we go. Until the next political episode, which will probably be every single one.
Out of my system. It just feels like a giant weight has been lifted from my shoulders, and I can finally breathe.
Yes.
And close that frustrating door.
Doctor Who, guys, it's always been political and it's always been left-leaning. I don't know what show you've been watching. So
in fact, there were even some episodes that were right-leaning, like the 60s serial The Dominators, I think it was anti-peace hippie.
Yeah, don't forget what was it? The one with the egg?
Oh yeah, that was pro-life. So conservative messages have made it onto the show too.
Well, we'll get to that horrible thing when we
We'll probably get to that one in about 2021.
So I guess just final thoughts from the three of us. I enjoyed it much more second time around. It still feels a little too dry to me a lot of the time. Like I said, I just think this is just the style of the show, too grounded for me, but it was fine.
On a side note, I really loved when the doctor was like, "Or am I?"
Yeah, Banksy.
Like I said, the writing is much better in this episode.
It's like the doctor is teasing her companion and having fun with it, but not being mean about it either.
Yeah. Really, really, really good. The villain is really the only thing holding it back. One of the best historical episodes we've done so far. This and Vincent and the Doctor, I think it's those two, and maybe Fires of Pompeii also, but that's its own completely different thing.
We'll get to those when we get to those. I loved it. I personally am now looking forward to the rest of the series, which I'm surprised that this episode gave me a 180, but because it got me to be a complete 180 in my total mood, I have to give it an extra star, and it goes from an 8 to a 9.
Your enthusiasm makes me happy, Edward.
There we go.
Now I'm going to go back to playing Toon Blast.
Back with the Halloween episode, guys. See ya.
Bye.